was going to say, I think you have to turn on the recording.
I see. I got your mental telepathy there, and we're starting our meeting. I'd like to call this the special town board's meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. If you would join me, and you don't need to say it out loud, but we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If people could mute themselves for the most part, that would be very much appreciated. One second. Thankfully, you're still there. I accidentally turned off my monitor and it didn't shut off the whole shebang. That's a good thing. As I was tilting the monitor to get the flag in there, I thought I lost you all and I was about to lower gasket. All right, we're ready to go. So tonight we have a special town board meeting continuing our series of special meetings related to the Tuxedo Farms project. Tonight we're going to have a presentation of products by Mitch Newman and the Lennar team, Bob Calabro, and Lisa, Steve, cast of thousands. And then we have our related partners as well. I see Greg Goucher. I know Dylan Norris is here. Again, they have an extensive team and they can certainly introduce them. But I have 7 people waiting to get in. Okay, I think I just did that. Okay, so Mitch, you're the big show tonight. We want to see the products that you have. Before we begin, I just let you know that many on the town board have visited sites of Lennar's in New Jersey and very impressed with the products that they've been showing us. And tonight you'll get to see some elevations. And this is our first step towards coming up with the design standards for these products. And so, Mitch, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Okay. All right. That sounds great, Ken. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. We do appreciate your continuing patience and courtesy as we proceed with you through the path to try to bring Tuxedo Farms to reality and move forward with everything. I just did want to take one moment just to reset from where we were last week and then jump right into where we're going this evening. Last week, or at our last meeting, the board was so kind to begin to dig into the revisions that we had proposed to the design standards, but quickly realized that those standards that we were trying to revise were like putting the square peg in the round hole, and it was creating more confusion and complications than we were seeing solutions. And the concern was that at the end of the day, we might have a code that could not be easily understood, certainly not by anyone else looking at it after us. So the thinking was maybe we need to reevaluate how we're proceeding and take a hard look at the homes that are planned for the community. And rather than try to change a design code written for a different home in a different style in a different community, let's come up with a design code that would work for the current version of the homes. And that led us to this evening where we would present all of our homes, because in the past you've seen kind of a smattering of some of the homes just as we were having various conversations. So tonight I'll go through all of them. The only thing that you won't see tonight are the homes or the rental buildings planned for the commons. They'll be following next week. So tonight will be the for sale homes that we'll go through. And our vision is that at the end of the day, you'll have a great feel for what we know as our beautiful homes that'll be very well received in the marketplace. And if there are some design features you want to focus on or adjust, we'll be happy to listen and then hopefully take that next step and drafting a design code that'll work that you can review and of course revise, and then we can work to put it together. So with that quick introduction, Ken, I'm going to share my screen and start putting that presentation up. Is that okay?
It's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Share. Okay, everyone sees the screen that says Tuxedo Farms Home Designs, I hope.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay, yeah, that's like half the battle. I don't know why that asking that question is always so scary. You never know what answer you're going to get. All right, so here we go. So as you can, if you can see my screen in the upper left-hand corner, it says 21. I don't know if anyone can see this, 21 screens, but 22 screens. But don't be concerned. It'll go rather quickly, and probably a third of them are text, like we see in this first one, just to introduce it. And we're going to go through all the different home styles, and I'm going to ask you to focus on two things: the structure of the home, meaning the four corners of the home, and then also, of course, focus on the various design elements, which I think is where we want to put our attention tonight, so that ultimately we can draft together a design code or design standards that can follow through for the eventual creation of these homes. So we're going to start with our stacked townhome, which is a 24-foot wide stacked townhome. And you've seen this before, probably a couple of times in our presentations. So I figured we'd start with something that has a little, let me just adjust the sizing here, a little familiarity. So this is our rear garage stacked townhome. And I'm going to go through all of them, and you're welcome to ask me any questions or throw any comments out along the way. So in the rear garage stacked townhome, we've learned in the past that this sounds silly, the front doors are in the front and the rear garages are in the rear facing an alley. And in each of these 24-foot wide rectangles are two homes. But the purpose of my presentation tonight is not necessarily to focus on the mechanics of the interior of the home, but rather to focus on the different styles and the different elevations. So in this case, we're obviously seeing, and we've talked about it in the past, a home designed with a somewhat classic red brick and a gray horizontal vinyl siding with a white feature separating the vinyl from the brick, and then a very wide vertical white vinyl siding in the middle. And we see that this masonry, the brick, wraps around the side of the buildings. This is simply to show that this is one style of a rear garage stacked townhome. Could this brick be stone? Of course. Could the gray be a different color? Could it be a different style of vinyl siding? Absolutely. This was a style that we designed for a particular community in Tinton Falls, which a couple of you have seen already in person. But this is a style we've designed, and we could make changes to some of these elevation colors or masonry features. And I'm dropping down to the front garage stacked townhomes, which you haven't seen before. And that's where we take the same home you saw before, the stacked townhome with a rear garage, bring the garage to the front, and then the entranceways are either on the side of the building or down these corridors in the middle parts of the building. So my focus here is really to show that in a stacked townhome configuration, when the garage moves from the front to the back or vice versa, we have lots of different elevation designs. We also then show this with the stone, a grayish stone, and a lighter color palette on the vinyl siding, and it creates a very different look from this rear stacked townhome to the front stacked townhome. And these features could have been swapped onto either of the homes. So again, tonight's presentation is, aside from showing you the homes, just emphasizing, and probably emphasizing it too often, that these design elements can change between homes. And why would they change between homes? Because we do want to create a coordinated plan where the homes complement each other. But in certain cases, various neighborhoods might have elements that are unique to that neighborhood, so that there can be a design or a feel to a particular part of a community. We know that the commons will be the central focus as you enter the community, And we would expect that once we are comfortable with the design of the buildings and the commons, that we would feather out from there and have designs that complement the commons, and then perhaps have a little bit more diversity as we feather away from the commons. So I'm going to continue to roll through the different home types. Next, I want to talk about our 3-story townhomes, which are 24 feet wide. And the purpose here is to show you that in the slide or the picture to the top, those are the homes that several of you have seen at Patriot Square in Tinton Falls, very much like the stacked townhomes that we looked at the beginning. Same red brick, same complementary gray vinyl siding, and wide horizontal vinyl planks in the middle. So as you know, these homes were meant to be complementary and coordinated with those rear stacked townhomes. But you take the exact same home, the exact same 24-foot wide townhome, and we give it a different look in another community, and we go with a rather white or gray stone.
And it never got traction for some very specific reasons. And these are two anecdotes. By the way, these are both in the Wall Street Journal.
Is that for me, Ken? I really can't hear.
No, I think caller number, there's some callers that have their microphones on. Caller number 9 has a microphone on.
I think I muted it now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. All right. So I'll keep rolling. So the focus here is that while we have 3-story townhomes, both 24-foot wide and both otherwise remarkably the same on the interior and in the exterior structure, we can give them very different looks with a subtle change to the roof line, to the color of the stone or the masonry, and different inflections in the vinyl siding. But again, in both cases, you see the masonry siding is wrapped around the side of the buildings. We know that's important to the board, so that there's a nice look not only at the front of the home, but along the side. Now we continue to our 2-story townhomes, and there's 3 varieties of 2-story townhomes: 24-foot wide, 28-foot wide, and 32-foot wide. So let's start with the 24-foot wide 2-story townhome. And in this case, or where this rendering came, we went with a lighter look, with a light stone along the base of the home, and then 2 different styles of vinyl siding throughout the rest of the home, still wrapping the masonry around the side of the home. So again, this might complement various other of the homes we looked at tonight, but we could have switched the stone to a brick. We could have changed some of the color palettes if needed to complement another home in the community or a various section of the community. And as we scroll down to the 28-foot wide townhome, you see a more linear look in the roof, and again, a different color palette, which just creates a whole different look, but still having a mix of masonry and vinyl, and still running the masonry you can see in the bottom left here around the side of the home. And then we get a little wider in our next slide to our 32-foot wide townhomes. And you can see we have a little bit more room to play with the jogs in the roof line. And we went with a slightly different color palette here again. And of course, the masonry starts to run to the side of the home, but we could bring that down the side of the home a little bit more. But you see, we've started to supplement that with landscaping. So now we're moving out of the townhome scenario and into the single family scenario, which are our 40-foot wide single family homes. So as you're going to see, we have 3 basic home types in our single family series, but in each of those home types, we have 3 different elevations, which creates really 9 different styles. And in those 9 different styles, there's probably a limitless, although I'm sure someone could do the math, a limitless array of different ways to change the look. And just in this first home, and they're all 40 feet wide, in this first home, we changed the slight color changes in the stone, color changes in the siding, shutters, no shutters. The home in the bottom left has 3 different types of vinyl siding. We have a vertical, shakes, and then horizontal, to create all different styles of home. And I'm going to move to the second series of 3, again with different changes, in this case to the roof line in the upper right-hand corner, and then in the lower left-hand corner, just a small design feature at the top of the roof creates a slightly different look. And then in our third series of single-family homes, again, they're still all essentially the same structure. We've again made subtle changes to the color and the masonry and where we put the masonry to give the homes different looks. I do want to point your attention to the home in the upper left-hand corner. And in my opinion, that home looks rock solid. It looks beautiful, but one thing's missing from it. There's no masonry treatment. So there are opportunities where you don't add a masonry treatment, but the home still has a great look to it and in the community. So it creates a little variety in the community, even with leaving the masonry that you saw in all the other homes. So those are the 40-foot wide single family homes, which again, as I said, come in effectively 9 different elevations when you put them all together. Now we're going to move to our active adult series. So there's 2 active adult styles, the traditional single family home active adult, and then the duplex. So let's start with the single family. And each of these single family homes are 40 feet wide. And I believe there's 5 different home types that I'm going to show you. And in each home type, there's either 2 or 3 elevations. So a really large variety in the active adult series, despite the structure of the home being pretty much homogeneous as we run through this. So in these, we did add the names. So these are the Davenport, and the names do occasionally change from community to community. But again, similar in their structure, but yet by changing some of the location of the stone and the different roof pitches and the different vinyl siding, you get very different looks. An active adult, as you know, is the master bedrooms on the first floor. So in some cases, as you can see here, there's not a really second floor living space, but there is a roof line that does look like there's some second floor space. As we move to the Seville, home's gotten a little bigger. We have a little different design changes, still the same structure of the home. And then next, we call the Apollo. Now we have some living space up on the second floor, great spot for a study or for the grandkids to visit, or just an additional den. And we get a little bigger with the Capri. Quite frankly, my favorite is this Capri in the C series, just because I really love the way this window feature turned out on the front of the home. Just has a really unique, stately look to it. And again, so you can switch the way that the stone is set up and the different elements of the vinyl siding to create different looks. And then finally, we go even to the smaller end of the spectrum, to the Belmont, which, despite being a smaller 40-foot wide single family home, has a lot of different really nice elevation changes, whether it's this front area with an interesting roof line on the top right, or in the bottom left with the dormers to give it a different look. So those are the homes in our active adult single family 40-foot wide series. Lots of variety, creating lots of differences in the homes. But if we keep some of the elements the same, we can create a real great coordinated plan. And then we would complement that with our age-restricted duplex homes. And if you remember in the section with the active adult homes, there's a mix of age-restricted and duplex. So the duplex are 32 feet wide as compared to the 40-foot wide single-family home. So the duplex are 2 32-foot wide homes, single-car garage. And you see here, as I've said several times over, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but a variety of vinyl siding, whether it's horizontal or a shake style siding, as well as masonry in different elements of the building. In this case, in the duplex home, you have one of the homes has a front door entrance, and the other home to the right here, you can't see it here, has a side entry. So that creates a little bit of a different look on the side of the home. And again, we could run the masonry finish around the edge of the home or complement that with landscaping so that the side of the home also has a nice look to it. Those are the homes that we are proposing for Tuxedo Farm. And as I said, our goal is to use these homes and the various designs to come up with design standards for your review and approval, of course, that would allow us to place these homes in the community in a coordinated plan, but also in a plan that allowed for some uniformity in each of the various sections, but still complementing each section and as I said, and feathering out from the commons. So we'd certainly welcome to any comments or questions on any of the home types or anything more general.
Well, thank you, Mitch. I want to start with the Tuxedo Town Board members.
I'll keep sharing, Ken, unless you tell me otherwise. I'll just
No,
leave the
that's
screen
fine.
here.
I think, yeah, people
Yeah.
might
Okay.
want to see a particular elevation.
Of course.
Can I ask you, in the more, stacked homes, you said the end. Let me see. Let me look at my notes here. In the stacked townhomes, how much space? I mean, so this is like the one home, and then how much space will be between that and another like it, or they'll be like interspersed with different styles,
Well,
especially in the more dense area.
I'm not sure if I'm following you, but let me take a run at it and we'll see where we go. So we're looking at the rear garage stacked townhome that we've seen in the past
Mhm.
and in our presentations.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, let me throw out some of the statistics. The homes are 24 foot wide and these buildings are 59 feet deep. And 50% of them are in a 3-bedroom configuration and 50% are 2-bedroom. The square footage for the 2-bedroom is 1,200 square feet and the 3-bedroom is 1,900 square feet. So in this square or rectangle that you see with the gray siding on the left of the screen, there are 2 homes and they each have their own door. And the door on the left, so to speak, would get you to one of the units and the door to the right to the other. Is your question regarding the spacing between buildings? Is that more where you're going?
Actually, this was helpful because I was trying to figure out. So the person that lives on the second door, their house, there would be staircase, and their house would pretty much be on the top.
Absolutely.
Mostly.
Yes, this door to the right, so to speak, as they entered,
Uh-huh.
they would enter into a stairwell, go up to the second floor and have their kitchen and den, and then go up to the third floor for their bedrooms. Whereas the person on this
Uh-huh.
left door, they would enter and have their kitchen and den right here on the first floor. And when they went upstairs, their 2 bedrooms would be at the back. So the split, so to speak, is this second floor. The front of the second floor is living space. The back of the second floor are the 2 bedrooms for the first floor guys, so to speak. And if you'd like, we do have a plan that shows how that floor plan works, and we can pull that up if that would be helpful. Or we, I
Yeah,
don't
that
want
would be
to, I don't
good.
want to,
That
all
would.
right.
I mean, I don't know if anybody else is interested. Unfortunately, I work during the day. I wasn't able to come with the other board members. So if everyone has seen it, it's just my question. However, on top, this is really good. I'm glad you explained. But my question was also in between buildings. So, for example, this building, this kind of 2-stack home, how close will the next one that is similar will be? Or are you
Well,
making any changes to what's already in the plan in terms of separation?
well, to the extent we can, we would leave the plan the same in terms of the separation that's already provided for in your design standards. But we would take a hard look at it. We typically are going to want approximately 20 to 25 feet in between buildings because we need to make sure that we accommodate some light and air. We also need to accommodate stormwater drainage, which is probably most important so that the water's going in the right direction. But that would be one of those details that we would attack in the design standards, and we would ask for your eventual input and of course your design professionals, so that you could see that we had a fair accommodation of the building spacing. So we have to understand that even though there's no side entrance to these homes, we want people to have some comfort that they're not right next to their neighbor. And while we're on that, Maria, we talked about this in the past, but easy for us to remember, us Lennar folks, we deal with it every day. You see this little shed here on the side that we're hiding with all the landscaping? It's not a door, it's literally a utility shed for the fire suppression system, so that can be controlled without having someone to go into any of the individual units. Okay.
Okay.
And
Does that mean, Mitch, that these buildings are sprinklered?
these are, yes. Yeah. Lisa, were you able to find that? Okay, can I stop sharing, Maria? And I'm going to let Lisa throw that plan up that will give us the difference in how these homes operate internally. So
Thank you.
do I have to stop sharing first, Lisa?
Let's give it a try.
All right, I'm going to hit stop sharing. All right, it's all you.
Okay, let me know if you're able to see that.
Yeah.
See it, yes.
You're good.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is the floor plan for the rear stack townhomes that Mitch was discussing. And if you look at where we're highlighted in blue here, this would be that lower level unit where you have your rear garage here, your front entry door. Then you have your main living area down on this main level. And if you follow up these stairs here, you have the back portion of that second floor for your sleeping quarters. And with the upstairs unit, you start on the lower level with just a little stairwell here, and it accesses both your front door and your garage, which would take you up here to the front portion of that second level for your main living area. And then following the stairs up would take you to that third floor where they occupy the entire third floor for their sleeping areas.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
So what we love about this, and I love to say it, is you get your own private front door entrance and your own private garage. So for those folks that perhaps want a townhome, but it might be a stretch to afford a townhome, but are looking for something more than a classic condominium where you might have a shared hallway and no garage, this is just a fantastic style home that gives you the look and feel of a townhome with your garage and private door. But still you're at that scenario where you're just a couple steps above a price point of a condominium. So this is well received in the marketplace. And Maria, if you don't mind, Lisa, why don't you scroll down to the front stack townhome, just so that we can make sure that we show that floor plan too. It's very similar in theory, but let me let Lisa take control and walk us through this one also.
The major difference between the front and the rear here is that since your garages are occupying that front portion of the lower level, you're coming in through side entries here, and your main living area for that lower level unit is in the rear of that first floor area. And your second floor living space where your sleeping area is for that one is still in the rear. So then it becomes a little more similar to what we just looked at. As for the upstairs, you're coming in through these entry points here. This is your door, and this is your door to take you up to your entry. And your main living level there is back on the front portion of that second floor, with the full living area of the third floor being occupied by that second story owner.
Okay. And we do appreciate asking the question, because we will all graciously admit that when you first look at the front or the rear garage stacked townhomes, it feels like a puzzle, but that's why we eventually realized we get to give them different colors to explain it, because I've been on the front lines trying to explain it without the color differences, and I think I put a few people to sleep. So thanks for that chance.
No, this is good. Great.
Maria,
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to interject that we started offering this plan about 12 years ago, and I was trying to get land use approvals and I didn't understand what the hell I was trying to build. So we actually built a 3D model out of plexiglass to try to give a visual to folks about what was going on here. Because at first glance, it is very confusing, but thank God we did it because it's been one of our most popular homes over the last 10 years. So we're very high on this product.
Mitch, we have a couple of questions in the chat I'd like to read to you.
Of course.
One kind of dovetails on what Maria was asking. Will you also discuss how far the units are from the road, how far they are from each other? Are they parallel to the road or on different angles?
Sure. So let me try to answer that generally, then we can dive into any further details. In the case of the homes where you have a garage, which is almost everything facing the front, which is everything except the rear stacked townhome. So Lisa, would you, so while you have control, and the presentation Lisa has is the exact same one that I presented. The only thing different is she has all of the floor plans, which we wanted to have in our back pocket in case you wanted to look at floor plans. But our focus tonight was in design elevations. So Lisa, go to any one of the regular or not stacked townhomes. So to give me a way to answer this in the design elevation as opposed to the floor plan. Thanks. So typically, to answer the question of how far are the homes set back, the homes are typically set back so that you can fit a car from the front of the garage door to the sidewalk, which is about an 18-foot space. Then you have your sidewalk, and then you have kind of a curb area. So all total, the home would sit back from the edge of the road, let's say approximately 25 feet. But that would depend where you're measuring it from. I'm measuring it from about the edge of the road. Now, in the case of the rear stacked townhome, where your garage is in the back of the home, we will take that home and bring that closer to the street. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Right, so we'd bring that a little closer to the street because you don't have to have that set back for the garage, with the garage being in the back along an alley. So that's typically how we deal with setting the homes back. In terms of angling them, we do try to keep our homes so they are parallel to the street. We don't typically look at creating angles, although angles happen when we are at curves all the time. But in a rather linear street, the homes would be linear to the road.
And now another question, is there a porch or deck on these stacked homes?
Not on the stacked townhomes. There's no front porch aside from what you see here as a front stoop, I guess I would call it. In the back of the in the back of the front stacked townhomes. So Lisa, if you don't mind. In the back of the front garage stacked townhomes, there is an opportunity for a porch or patio out that back slider door where Lisa's got her cursor for those people with that first floor living. You might then be saying to me, well, how come there's no back porch in the rear garage stacked townhomes? And the answer, somewhat obvious, is because in the back of those rear garage stacked townhomes is a garage. There's no place for a rear patio. So your outdoor living space is somewhat limited in the stacked townhome scenario.
Let me see, next question. How much of the design choices reflect Tuxedo history in any way?
I couldn't say for sure how it reflects the history of Tuxedo. I can certainly tell you that as I look at the newer construction throughout Tuxedo, I think it is complementary in terms of some of the vinyl and stone selections. So I think we're more complementary to the current or more modern homes that are similar in Tuxedo.
Any other board members had any questions?
So Ken, if I could just expand on that last point. However, if there was something that the board thought did have a nod to history, whether it was in a brick color or a stone color or one of our elevation designs sparked something in particular, we could make that a focal point as we proceed in our design standards.
You know what, since you are, since you did this for the stacked townhomes, can you do the same thing for the 3-story townhomes? Can we take a look at the inside?
Yeah,
plan?
Lisa,
Is
you're
that
on.
okay?
It
So
is
quick question.
absolutely okay.
Quick question for me. This is Deirdre. Basically, when we're looking at these interiors for all these styles, the interiors really do remain consistent. So when we're talking about changing of design standards, et cetera, we're really talking about the facade, correct?
Correct.
100%, Deirdre. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just jump to the prior slide, Lisa. One slide up. Yeah. So Deirdre, to your point exactly, this is the 3-story, 24-foot wide townhome. Look very different from one to the other, but yet these homes are the same. And when Lisa jumps to the floor plan, that doesn't change. And that's why my initial focus was on the exterior, but we're happy, Maria, to jump in a little bit on the
Yeah,
interior.
I'm sorry. I just didn't get a chance to see them. And as I've gone on your website and just taken the inside tour, but it's hard to tell sometimes. So it's just it's good
of
to
course.
imagine inside, what
And
what the living space looks like.
and
So
we'd be
I mean,
happy
but
to
I can
happy to
always,
host
you
a
can
tour.
share this with me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
So Lisa, would you mind hosting us through the interior?
Certainly. So right here would be your front entry point where you walk into this little corridor area. This is also accessible by the back here, which gets accessed by the garage. So you could come in through your garage and you would come into this finished lower level, which we typically consider a rec room. And that comes with the full bath down here. And you can go up your stairs and then you would get into your main living area with your kitchen in the back here, a little pocket office, and then the dining room and family room, a very open concept feel. And then you have your little powder room for your main living area. Coming up to the 3rd floor, you have your sleeping area with your owner's suite up here in the rear here, and then your 2 secondary bedrooms up here with your hall bath.
And just to
and
focus, because it's
yes, sorry, the deck.
yeah.
So there is actually, we are able to afford the opportunity for some outdoor living space on this particular model. This would come off your main living level, and then underneath you would just have like a little concrete pad on that lower finished area accessed through the sliding door. And that deck is typically like a 10 by 12, so it's a nice size to put furniture and kind of sit out there and really enjoy that outside area.
And Maria, we have this as a furnished model in our Tinton Falls community. So if you do find yourself in Central Jersey, it would be our pleasure to give you the royal tour and show you the beautiful home.
So
Okay.
just
All
a
right.
quick question again. So the only models that really don't account for outdoor living are the stacked homes. Everything else does have an outdoor deck or an outdoor patio or even some common area outside, for example, the single homes, where you can set up, say, a dining room set or an outdoor set where you can sit outside, correct?
Correct. The only exception to that correct statement is in the front garage stacked townhome. The lower level home does have an opportunity for a patio. So
Okay,
that's the
so
limited
only one
exception.
model. So only one
Yes.
model really does not allow for that.
Correct.
Okay.
So Mitch, I guess, it seems kind of obvious, a 2-bedroom part of the stacked townhome as opposed to the 3-bedroom is catering to 2 different family units. It seems pretty obvious.
Oh, absolutely. People will make a lifestyle decision. And Deirdre, I think that would be a focus. If somebody is intent on having, as Lisa just showed us, their own private deck and a porch under the deck, then they would be gravitating towards our townhomes. If somebody was looking for an opportunity that was a little bit more price conscious and wasn't really focused on that outdoor space, or wanted to pay attention to the fact that we're going to have various amenities and they'll recreate and relax in those amenity areas, that would be their lifestyle choice. And it gets to the word I overused a couple meetings ago, which is diversity of home styles to meet a diversity of family styles and living choices.
Ken, do you want to read Christie's comment, which is good? Or you want
I'd be happy to
me
read
to
it.
read it?
I'll be happy to
Okay.
read it. Christy Apostolidis posts, practically every neighborhood in Tuxedo is a planned community. The North is built on early concepts of sustainability. East Village is early quarters for those who built Tuxedo Park. Tuxedo Park is an old resort community, and Eagle Valley is really a converted farming area. What does the town want Tuxedo Farms to be? We have an opportunity to create a new identity in Tuxedo. That really needs to be considered when looking at these designs. In my opinion, Tuxedo's asset is and will be the parkland so close to New York City, and this should be reflected in the design.
And Christy is a member of our planning board.
So to that point, can I ask you the question of, or is there some type of formula that you use in terms of recreation space to living space that you're applying to this community that would be able to answer that question? So for every X amount of square feet, are you allowing a certain amount of pocket parks or walking trails, or how are you really developing this community to really sort of take some of the assets of the open space that is really in Tuxedo Farms and making that an asset for the people who live there?
Well, we don't have a formula. I'll be upfront with you with that comment. I don't think I've seen a formula, but we are trying to live within the land and provide all those opportunities for recreation that you mentioned. If you don't mind, Lisa, I'd like to take the screen back and just take us back to the overall design plan that we saw a couple of meetings ago. Get over here.
Mitch, while you're getting that screen up, I just want to interject. We do in some of our master plan communities in New Jersey have a quotient for park or rec area per home. And we can put that in our design standards to make sure that we are addressing that general issue. So we can talk about that as we get to those design standards.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Bob. That's great. Right. We can come up with percentages and locations. So what I placed on the screen was a slide that you saw in an earlier presentation a couple some odd meetings ago. And my point here is just to reorient us to the fact that there are various large areas of open space around and between the neighborhoods and within the various neighborhoods. And then in the commons, it is hard to see at this scale, but that is our recreation area that flows to the within into the southerly part of the commons. But where there are opportunities in the various communities for pocket parks, we do hope to take advantage of that, whether it's a sitting area or a tot lot, or a place for relaxation or exercise. So that is part of our goal. And as Bob said, we can program that into the design standards so that we can make sure that we're focusing ourselves on it and the planning board can see that in the design process.
I really think that would be very helpful, because it really is a beautifully planned community, and to not be able to share, the amount of open space and the amount of amenities that are available doesn't do it the type of service that it really does deserve.
Okay, well, thank you, and we will have to pay attention to that as we move into the drafting those design standards for your review to make sure that we are putting in appropriate standards to complement that.
During one of Related's earlier presentations, during Related's other presentation, Greg had shown a graph of basically a pie chart of how much open space was being preserved in this site arrangement, and it was substantial.
Right. If I can just add in here, and what you're saying is exactly right. We're embracing. I mean, I think Dylan spent like half his day today looking at all the hiking trails that connect to this community. I think we need to embrace that. And so, and we're minimizing the extra amount of disturbed land to keep the nature, keep the hiking trails, maximize them. This is exactly what we're going for. So I think we're all aligned on this.
Caller 12 was trying to say.
Ken, this is Michelle. Can you hear me? Oh, hi. Ken?
Yes.
It's Michelle.
Yes, Michelle.
Okay. Hi. Sorry, I was disconnected for a minute, but the plan also showed additional nude. Right.
Fortunately,
Michelle,
you're
we
breaking
can't
up,
hear
Michelle.
you.
Why don't you, if you want to put something in the text, but I guess you're on a call, so it's probably not easy to do.
Okay. All right. I'll
Try again. I can hear you now.
I just was saying the plan showed trails as well in the open space. And is that still going to be part of the plan? So that's more related, if I understand who's doing what in this project. I believe Related is responsible for all of the open space and trails, and then Lennar is building the neighborhoods. Is that a good way to look at it?
Not exactly. I think we are a partnership together. We are all in it for the entire thing. They are focusing on their homes, and we are focusing on the town square. But we are collectively, thinking about the entire community. So, but believe me, we actually are embellishing all the trails. It's been part of our sort of main theory of this sort of walkable community with many hiking trails and nature amenities for the community and for the town.
So, Greg, what's Hart Howerton's role in this project?
Hart Howerton is helping us with the sort of master development to make sure it all stitches together. And they've been involved with the project many years ago, and we brought them back in to help sort of stitch it all together. I mean, they are directly with our architects working on the design of the commons in the town center, but also working with the entire team to make sure to help us all stitch it all together to make sure it's a cohesive development.
Michelle, did you have a follow-up?
Well, I think my question was, well, I guess in some ways, yes. The communal areas will be mostly the responsibility of Related as far as the open space goes, and if there's any communal pocket parks within the housing neighborhoods, then Lennar would be doing those. Is that the way I understood Greg's answer?
I wouldn't. I mean, Mitch, you can pipe in. I think we're all of us are working together. Lennar, Related, and consultants are working together to make it a cohesive community with amazing natural resources, pocket parks, hiking trails. And so I don't think that either of those things fall into one of our responsibilities. It's sort of our collective group, if that helps. But we believe it's an amazing opportunity of this site to embrace the nature.
Yeah, and Michelle, Greg's spot on. We're going to be working on this all together, and simply because we've divided up Lennar presenting the for sale homes and then Related presenting the commons next week with the larger buildings, it doesn't divide who's doing what. We just did that for the purposes of our presentation. So we look forward to working together. And Hart Howerton is, as Greg said, is kind of an overriding planning consultant that's helping keep us focused on making sure that we have a beautiful coordinated plan.
Okay, thanks. I didn't have the opportunity before because I lost connection, but I think that the variety of homes that you're showing can really make for different neighborhoods that will be attractive and have interesting styles. So I'm very happy to see that. Thank you.
No, thanks. And that's exactly what we're going for. And you can see in this overall plan, the mountain lake, which is the purple in the upper right-hand corner, that might have a unique look to those homes that might be a little different from perhaps the single family homes that are in West Terrace. And West Terrace, those single family homes may want to directly complement the buildings in the commons because of their proximity. So the way the site lays out and the variety of homes that we have with the design elevations, I think really gives us the opportunity to do that so that it'll all have some commonality, but also have individuality in the different sections.
What you certainly don't see on a
Yeah.
on a 2D map is literally the elevation changes, the topography, the distancing between these communities. I would imagine some of these lots wouldn't even have a direct line of sight to the other ones. So unlike, and no disrespect to central New Jersey where it's pretty flat, we have the advantages here of having a pretty massive site spread out over hundreds of acres. I believe it's 1,200 plus acres.
Yep.
And different elevation changes, windy roads, and intentionally designed to downplay the single line of sight that would adds differences in character to the different neighborhoods.
Oh, absolutely. Right. You're absolutely right. This doesn't do it justice. And if you look at that little scale on the bottom right of this sheet, it's trying to tell you that some measure an inch equals 1,000 feet, which you probably can't even figure that scale out on here. But so some small measure equals more than 3 football fields, which is pretty enormous for one site to have that kind of large palette to work from. So very exciting.
And may I show a
And
few things?
Mitch,
I'm not sure who's speaking.
I'm Bonnie.
I was just going to ask Mitch. Oh,
Can we let
okay.
Bonnie?
Go ahead, Bonnie.
I'll defer to Michelle, of course.
Okay, just a quick one. Just a quick one about the topography, just to follow up. And I had mentioned this earlier that the West Terrace, the road that goes up to the water tower, when the rest of the boards get a chance to see that, they'll see what a great opportunity that is with those unbelievable vistas from there. And the houses will be terraced down the hillside, which will be interesting. So that's all I wanted just to comment.
You're right, and that'll give us a chance for the single families, for a section of them to have a walkout basement opportunity, and it'll create the diversity in our townhomes because we have the 2-story and the 3-story townhomes planned in that section so that we are taking advantage of some of those vistas.
Bonnie, you're at bat.
Thank you. I'd like to share, I'm on Google and I'm looking at the project that's in Rockaway, Mitch, because that seems to have some of the same product.
You want me to, I'm going to stop sharing, Bonnie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and are you looking at a Lennar community? Oh, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So let me bring this up because I want to kind of point out a couple design features here. So can you see this?
Not yet. Oh, yeah, yes, I can.
Okay. Is this Lennar? I think it is because I looked up and I clicked on something that said Lennar.
Yes, I think you're right. But Bob, that's our Rockaway site, right?
That's correct. That's correct. That's our Rockaway site that we were with Ken earlier.
Ken's been to this site?
I have.
Okay. One of the things that's interesting when I look at the renderings, the 3-story townhome, 24-foot wide, the example rendering that you did has 5 units kind of across, and one of the architecturals has darker colors on the facade, and they seem to have almost patterned architectural roof. For some reason, I think the roof on the rendering that you provided looks steeper, a little bit steeper than, let's say, these roofs. And it's sort of the devil's in the details, because here, when I look at this line of townhomes, I think they're regular townhomes, not stacked. You end up with an extra gable, kind of somewhat in the middle of this set. And if I look over here, this particular one doesn't have that gable. And I think even just simple things like adding an additional gable really helps as far as breaking up the appearance of the facade, the length of it. It looks like the product also has these breaks in the design of each of the townhouses at some point. So that kind of gives it a little visual relief and depth and shading, which I think is important, so it doesn't look like one big flat facade. And it looks like your renderings are doing that. So you'll have breaks. Will that be the case? You'll have breaks sort of to vary the facade appearance?
We could, not necessarily. In the case of the homes you're looking at, they're a little different than the ones we're proposing, because those include townhomes with one-car garages. We
Right.
were proposing all two-car garages.
Yeah, I think the rendering I'm seeing, the 3-story townhome, 24-foot wide, it does show these little breaks in the pattern. So I hope that still happens on the top of the roof line, again, because I think it gives you that sense of breaking it. The other thing is that in this instance, there are 2 colors similar to what you were proposing. It looks like there's a color here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And then you have that same white color as in the rendering. I think that sort of the more that you differ, these 2 colors, your trim and your siding, it helps as far as kind of deepening the architectural appearance of it. Because this almost, depending on how close you are, it almost looks like one color, as opposed to if you have a more of a distinction between the 2, a variation, then I think the white will pop more, and then you start to see more of the features. So just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I noticed, are these what are proposed also? Because you had sort of that model that they came in between the garages.
Correct. Those are the front stacked townhomes.
Okay. I think it's really, again, this is my preferences, and I'm just showing the town board for whoever's not been out to the project. I think it's really useful how, the stone comes up the sides here. Again, because you're sort of breaking the facade, even though it is broken up by its design, it just helps break up the facade, but still relate it to the base. And I think that's useful. The other thing in looking, and several people talked about the breaks in the buildings. And one of the things that seems to be helping here in Rockaway is that they put these little areas for cars, I guess visitor parking. I don't know that it's for the homeowners, but certainly for the visitors. And by having a little bit of parking and a little bit of spacing, you do see the breaks in the building. And I think that's helpful in kind of, again, breaking up that sense of, sort of a long line of buildings. You could start to see the spacing and a little bit of green in between. So that amount of spacing between buildings will be interesting. So that was just, kind of a reaction to seeing these. I think the 5-plex that you showed of the townhomes looks really good. It kind of looks uniform. The colors really pop. The architectural shingles or the roof shingles look really good. Again, I just happen to be looking at this little gable. Just even adding that makes it different from a line here where it's more, let's say, level and flat. And your buildings, it looks like, depending on which model, some of them incorporate it and some don't. But I think to the extent we can vary roof lines, it's very useful.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bonnie, if I can interject a bit, I was involved with this project from the beginning, and we had some issues with the town ordinances as it related to height of the buildings
Okay.
that restricted our pitch on the roof.
Okay.
Also, they have look-alike ordinances that required us to change gables from building to building in instances. So sometimes there's reasons beyond our wishes as to why something does or doesn't have a gable, or does or doesn't have a higher pitched roof. So we're
Right.
mindful of that when we go through the design standards, because I think even if it costs us a little more money, we'd like to have a little more interesting roof line than what you showed in the building, I think, to the right of the screen.
This
where
one here.
the gables on, right, this one right here.
Right.
Where you only had the gable on the two ends and not in the middle, or
Right.
where it may end up.
Right.
So I don't think you're going to get any pushback from us on making that a little more interesting.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, ultimately, it's up to each of the communities' building ordinances. You're staying within, certain frameworks in other communities. And here, since you get to create it, certainly one of the things to look at is, roof pitch, because in the townhome building that you have on the rendering, I think there's enough of a pitch that you actually can see the roof, and you can see it's textured, almost architectural coloring on the roof. So I think that from my perspective enhances the appearance of the building, just adds to it. And that might be going on up here, but because of the pitch, you kind of don't notice it.
Right.
And depending on where you are in the project, you do have some undulating, relief. So you will see roofs, and it'd be nice if they're architectural style.
Right, and if you don't mind, Bonnie, there's one more feature, if you stay right here, that I
Okay.
want to point out, where you have the elevation in the back of the building being higher than the front. And this is exactly some of the treatment that we showed Ken on site that we'll need to be implementing at Tuxedo because of the grade changes throughout the site. So you'll see this type of treatment in Tuxedo in the townhome areas that absolutely need it.
So the retaining walls in the back?
Not necessarily a retaining wall,
Okay.
possibly a retaining wall. I didn't mean that specifically, but the
Gotcha.
higher grade in the backyard versus the lower grade in the front yard will be
Right.
something you'll see in Tuxedo.
So whereas it's 3 stories when appearing from the front, the garage loaded side, on the other side, it may have more the appearance of a 2-story because it's going into the hill.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. I don't know if you want to point anything else out here. I just thought it was really useful to take a look at sort of real life. And, again, I think that, even from one street to another, looking down one versus the other, just some, maybe 10 feet difference sometimes in spacing of a building can break up, a line of them. And I know you talked about, wanting them to all relate to the street, a certain, distance from it. But I guess I would, think about, can you actually vary it, even if it's 5 feet? Would that help? I don't know that it will. It may actually look more awkward to have them varied. But maybe it's more important to have a little bit more spacing between buildings.
Yeah, and we'll have to look at that when we get into the design phase with our engineer, because we might be pushed forward or back by the grading, like Bob was talking about, where we have to pull away from it or push back into it. So, and here you see the sidewalks actually became part of the driveway. That was based on the way the town code was set up here, as opposed to other scenarios where the sidewalk will be a separate strip of concrete.
Right. I think the other thing for town board members to think about is, do you want subtle changes in the color from one building to the next? Sometimes having the same color and maybe slightly different features is more unifying than having a building of one color next to another building of another color, etc. You want to create some variety, but sometimes it doesn't help. And so I think thinking about, how do you kind of create variation in the pattern, and how you go about doing that is useful to discuss at some point. So that was it, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Mitch, to that point, I would imagine with technology today, you could show renderings with different color palettes that could help us to imagine what Bonnie's talking about before we made a final decision.
Yeah, we could. My goal was that the renderings that we showed at the beginning, I'm gonna just jump back to that. That the renderings we have do show this, certainly a variety. And in fact, Bonnie, this was the building we were just looking at, but now it looks a lot lighter in this rendering. And we could both debate which looked better, the one that you were showing us in our Rockaway community or this one. And then even in Ken, again, even those 3-story townhomes, what Bonnie showed us in Rockaway was a little different. And then here's
Right.
2 other styles. So I think we have enough design elements in the various slides that we're presenting today, but if we need to supplement that, Ken, of course, that would be our pleasure. And Bonnie, I guess this is answering your question also.
Right.
We do have the roof lines and we have the gable in the middle, but in this, I don't know if you should call this more modern, but in this was designed for a particular look. You don't see that. You don't see the gables coming up, but I would still suggest that it still looks good, even in its own way. And the way we talk about this is it's at first blush, it's different, but if you see it in person, it really pops and it grows on you quickly.
I think the colors pop in that top one to my eye.
Yeah.
The other thing with the roof line is, though you don't have the gables here, you're varying it with having sort of these shed roofs coming off. So you're still getting some variation. It's more, I think it has more to do with the length of roof that isn't broken up. And here, again, you have 2 of these that come forward, even if it's a few feet. And because you're having sort of this, I don't know if that's the right word, shed roof, it again breaks it up. It's just in the same way a gable will break up a gabled roof, a cross gable.
Yep. No, you're spot on, and I that's what we're looking to achieve right here, and we carry that through to Tuxedo Farms. Ken, anywhere else you want us to go?
No, I think we're ready to talk about what are our next steps. I know as we've been discussing, a big catalyst for discussion is relateds work, especially around the commons. And to me, the commons obviously is the center of the community, and as we build out from that, all the products we've been looking at have different opportunities for placement, spacing, and so Greg, where do you see us going next week? And what?
Thanks, Ken, and thank you again, board, for all of your hard work. It's amazing what you do. So next week, we should have something to show for sort of preliminary design concepts, some rendering, some of the town, sort of the commons, and it's not a detailed renderings of exactly every detail, but it'll definitely give you a look and feel. And again, it's easier for us in that environment to stick to the original design guidelines standards. So we will not be sort of revising those as much, maybe a few tweaks here and there. But we will show that next week. And also next week, we should have sort of response and updated all the other stuff, a new concept, like basically a response to your memo with Bonnie's memo, which represented your comments on all the last full submission. So we should have the full response to Bonnie's memo, incorporating all your comments, and a new tech memo and new concept plan based on that memo. And nothing really changed, just basically updating to address the comments. And sort of a full package next weekend, including some renderings of the comments. That should be a good meeting next week.
Okay. And Ken, I did want to build on that, and thanks, Greg. So we have an opportunity to take another step in the background, but I don't want to do it if the board's not comfortable. If the board is comfortable that we're going in the right direction, I would suggest that we, the developer side, can take that first swing at revised design standards, knowing that ultimately we're going to be preparing a draft for your review, as opposed to if the board would prefer us to sit tight till after the next presentation. But I'd like to get some direction on whether we should jump forward or not at this point.
Well, I personally thought that the plan was to move forward with the design set so that we do have something to react to. We know that the design, we intentionally took a shift to have the design standards convey the products that we know Lennar builds. As I said a few meetings ago, it would be pointless if after we went to see Lennar sites that we said, no, we couldn't live with this. What would be the point? You know, it's again, that square peg in the round hole. So I'll let my other board members speak, but I'm pretty sure we're, obviously we need to react to them. So if somebody were to say to me, oh, you're just turning everything over to Lennar and Related, I'd say absolutely not. You know, but we have to respond to what we know you could build. And of course, as Greg just pointed out, a lot of the design standards with the commons will remain the same. And so, of course, you know, we've always been pushing for elevations and visuals that help people understand what stuff actually going to look like. But I'll let my other board members comment as to what their expectations were. Jay's been quiet, and I want to make sure it's his mic is this on?
Yeah, no, my mic is on. I mean, like I said in the emails, I got all of this stuff at like 2 o'clock today, and I was working, so this is the first time I'm seeing it. But to the question of design standards, yeah, no, go ahead, start creating. Well, my lawyer makes me say it's only my opinion. I'm not speaking for the board, but start cranking it out and let's have a look at it. And see what you can do to make 16-foot garage doors look like 2 8-foot doors, because they look like hell.
And to your point, Jay, yeah, it's difficult if we get documents on Thursday morning, especially for people who work full-time jobs. And even though I do have a full-time job working for the town, it even makes it difficult for me. So earlier the better. We'll be more productive.
I was not being hyperbolic. I got it at 2 o'clock. There was no getting it in the morning.
Oh no, I understand. Absolutely.
I agree with the rest of the board that, you know, you give us something in writing and then we can look at it and mull it over and yeah, work with you. So I agree. And I also agreed. I work, so I didn't get to see this. I was, you know, eyeing it as I was coming home. But so if you guys can get it to us, you know, with a little bit of time, that would be helpful.
This is Michelle. I think that I agree with the board that saying that let's have you take the first shot at the design guidelines so we can have something to work with. And also, I don't think I heard, but correct me, are we getting the market study, or when are we getting the market studies?
No, we were not anticipating sharing the market study. We used that as a guide to give actually the right information to update the tech memo. So you're going to see it indirectly by seeing the resulting home price results that get filtered into the tech memo.
What kind of marketing study do you do? Do you do focus groups? Do you do demographics? And how do you actually do your market studies? And what kind of specific studies have you done for Tuxedo?
So our market study is a combination of several elements. One is we do hire an outside consultant, but as I say, and some find this a little odd, a consultant is a guide, and they give you information, and it's your job to evaluate it and use it. So we do have a consultant that prepared a report, but we also have our, at least on the Lennar side, an entire marketing team that they take a look for us and see what the market is looking for and evaluate pricing. And then we have the team that I'm involved with, which is our land team, and we also do the same thing. So we have our land team, our marketing team, and our consultant all take individual looks at it, and then we meet and put the information together to come up with where are we with the right homes, where are we with the right pricing. And then we've put that together recently and sent that over to Greg so that he could evaluate it as our partner and put that into the tech memo that you're going to see revised for next week. So that's our process. In doing that, we draw on the information we gather from selling these homes throughout New Jersey and throughout other markets in the area. So we are confident that we're knowledgeable about the marketplace and our homes, and then we become knowledgeable about the local market that we're stepping into, specifically, of course, Tuxedo.
Well, I totally understand that. I guess my question is, I do think that you're going to have a slightly different, not necessarily a price point, but a slightly different consumer that's going to go to Tuxedo versus a consumer that's going to be in Tinton Falls. So I'm just curious as to whether or not you have, your consultants have a specific or you have a specific market study for who would find Tuxedo to be a desirable place to live.
And we're actually in the process of preparing that specific study, although we're confident as to who that buyer is going to be based on the folks we see in town. But we did actually, Deirdre, you should know, you must be getting right into our head. We have someone who's going to take a look at that exact question for us so that we can tailor our marketing.
That's really what we would, I mean, we certainly trust your understanding of based on your history on price points, et cetera. But, it would be interesting for us and for the people of the town to just have a general understanding of who you're targeting and why. It would be helpful.
Okay, we'll see what we can get back to you on that. We won't have that study for next week, but it is something we're working on.
I understand that. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I
Thanks.
just want to interject on that demographics question. We'll be happy to share what our consultant believes will be our target market area. But I can tell you, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but we almost never agree with our marketing consultant.
Yeah, neither do I.
So, we like to take their data and we like to bounce it off of what we believe is happening in the marketplace. That's why we're resistant to give third-party studies to any public body, because we don't want to be
totally get it. I totally understand. No, they always tell you what they think you want to hear anyway.
That's right. And that's
I
not what we want to hear.
Yeah, I do. I'm just trying to get a feel for because I don't understand the housing market. I'm just trying to get a feel for the housing market and how you're approaching it. That's really, I totally understand the issues with that.
So I think, Mitch, when we are done cross-examining our consultant on their report, I think we'll be able to find those general types of parts of the study that we can share. And it'll be their opinion, again, not necessarily yours, and we can chat about what we agree or disagree with if you really want to see it.
And I'm with you, Bob. Maybe we can have our consultant call that point out into a separate letter, so that we have something we can share. But okay, so we'll work on that.
Well, I guess also my question would be the number of one-bedroom apartments versus two-bedroom apartments. That kind of market study, I would think, would be very helpful, especially since there are so many one-bedrooms. and this is obviously directed more to Greg, what is the market study that shows one bedrooms are what people will want, as opposed to people working at home or have one child or just want a second bedroom for whatever use? Yeah, I just don't understand the one bedroom market, so I'd like to understand that better. And if there's some market study that shows that, that would be greatly helpful to me. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And my answer is very similar to Mitch's, in that we take our market studies in our own experience. Our rental team from New York has spent some time on this, and we do think the one bedrooms, the large one bedrooms with dens, when they're sort of like a little larger than just a very small one bedroom, they have dens, so they work at home environments. And actually, to balance all the product in the entire development, there's 1,600 homes, and so most of them are more bedrooms. And so we do believe that this is approximately the right mix for number one bedrooms. In the comments, basically.
Okay, well, I guess maybe, instead of seeing the third-party market studies, just basically it would be helpful for us to see how you came to your conclusion, taking into account your third-party studies, what you're seeing in other markets that you personally are involved with, and the demographics of, Bergen County and Rockland County, Passaic County, or wherever you think the people are going to be coming from. That would be very helpful.
Michelle, can you guys hear me? My audio wasn't working. I will say too is this, we've always talked about the diversity of product offering, and although like looking at the one bedroom count, it seems high. If you break it out by like unit by bedroom count, it's 17% of the 1,600 units are one bedroom. So it really is trying to create we can have someone where they rent a one bedroom, maybe they get married, they get that two bedroom, first kid, they move into their stacks town, and aspirational one day they're up at, Tuxedo Lake on the water. And so I think that's kind of what we've tried to address with the way we've chose the unit mixes. It's actually fairly evenly distributed with the focus primarily on the twos and threes.
Okay, thanks, Dylan.
Well, this is Ken. One of the things that kind of impressed me about the whole Lennar model is your communities are sold out quite often before they're even completed. And even the way you design the interiors, I was actually surprised with the EI concept of everything included, and that you literally pick the countertops and the cabinets, and that obviously you have to have some pretty strong market research to know, wow, we could actually design the interiors and pretty much know we're going to sell them. That was surprising to me.
No, Ken, you're right. And that's a subtle detail that we probably don't bring up enough. I had mentioned early on that our plan is not to sell a home, then build a home, then close it, but it's actually build it, then sell it, then close it. And that follows what you just said, that EI program, which is everything's included. So we are confident that we know what the buyer wants in their home. So rather than have them try to figure out, do we want to upgrade this or pick out that, we include everything. So we have the island, we have the cabinets picked out, we have the flooring picked out, and we're confident that we're meeting the marketplace's desires and minimizing the stress in the buying process at the same time.
And you want to see?
I missed that.
I'm not sure who was talking or whether it was intentional.
Okay.
I'll mention, just to follow up on that, and maybe you addressed this when I lost service, but the everything included was impressive with the technology, the ring, and the nest, and all of those things. I think when we present it to the public, I'm sure you will be noting that and explaining that, which is a good selling feature.
Oh, absolutely. We'll go through that part of the sales program so they understand how the homes are actually going to be developed. and some of the questions about those elevations and switching colors, perhaps we would pre-select that in our construction of the buildings, again, on the theory that everything's included, the inside of your home and the outside.
I don't know if Larry, you can hear me. I was hoping you would be able to just comment about what our next steps are, especially, document review. We kind of flipped it. Early on, we were talking about, well, show us what you're going to build. And now we're getting to that stage. Obviously, Lennar has done a big reveal, and we expect a similar kind of a ride from Related next week. But what's the process of reviewing design standards and tech memos and that kind of stuff?
Well, we're on a parallel track. Okay, so we're reviewing tech memo issues and design standard issues kind of independently, although they're both related. Where we're trying to get is to a point where the application is in good enough shape and we have a confidence level in the application so that we can subject it to the planning board as a referral. Because that's required as part of the PID law. And we can also get it over to the county and also commence the public hearing process. In addition to that, during that period of time, we will then be working on the special permit itself, having at that point come to a juncture in the review process where we feel that we can amend the special permit with a degree of confidence, and then after that, close the public hearing, finalize the seeker component of this, and then take action. And that, in a very general way, is the next steps. But immediately we're still in this two-track process of tech memo review and also design standard review. And design standards are being recrafted in this go around. So that's something that we'll be looking at. It's really, a lot of this is in the applicant's ballpark right now. The town board appreciates getting this stuff in as far advance of the work sessions as possible, so we can give you substantive comment and move the process along. But again, it's all dependent on the applicant getting us what we need. We still have some out on our end. We still have some outstanding consultant comments due in. There's one set from our town engineer on the proposed revised performance standards, and I know Bonnie has a draft that she's reviewing of comments to on the traffic impact study that was now created, and I assume that both of those will be completed shortly. So Ken, that is pretty much where we are. If anybody has any questions about process or next steps, happy to try and answer them.
Brad, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? You're muted, sir.
I'm muted. No, Ken, thanks for asking me. I thought that was a good summary, and I can continue to work with Larry offline to flesh out those next steps. But that was a good summary, Larry. Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to mention in terms of the market study, Ken.
Yes, please.
So, I mention it now rather than later. In the prior reviews of Tuxedo Farms, we've had use of the market study, if for no other reason than to be able to vet the price points that will be designated for the unit sales. I leave that notion with the applicant, and say that when whatever gets presented to us, we need to have the information to be able to vet your price points, because that is directly linked to the fiscal impact analysis. And we want to make sure we have a credible numbers that we're relying on for that.
And we've also had, related to that, kind of a thought. Although we're trying to do this in one phase, so to speak, obviously a project of this length, this magnitude, even if it's designed in one phase, so to speak, it's gonna happen over many years. And so people have asked, so after the commons, the shovel-ready part of the project is completed, if that were all that would happen, what would be the fiscal impacts at that stage? Just throwing it out there. I think that's something that's been brought up a few times, and I'd just like that to be considered. Board members, any other final comments? Or can we go eat? I might take my medicine.
Well, I look forward to seeing the next renderings of the town center.
That's a big one for me.
Good for
Absolutely.
now.
Nothing more for me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm just,
Thank you.
I'm gonna put in my.
One second,
gonna
one
put in
second,
my-
guys. I'm sorry, this is Larry again. I just wanted to be clear on what we would be getting in a unified document that addresses all design standards that covers both components of Tuxedo Farm, the Lennar component and the related component. If that's not possible, by the next meeting, then so be it. We'll just deal with it. But I just don't want things to get too confusing in terms of, multiple submissions. So if you guys can coordinate to, maybe accomplish that, that would be really good.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. That's our game plan too, is it's one submission on design standards, not anticipating that that's going to be for next week, of course, but yeah, it'll be one.
Okay.
So perhaps, Larry and Brad, Mitch and Greg, you could circle the wagons and, try to no later than Monday, make it clear what the town board will be reviewing on next Thursday and what our agenda would look like in a reasonable 3-hour segment. That would be great.
I think we can tell you verbally now and follow up. I think the intention is to have the revised tech memo, the full response to Bonnie's memo, and the sort of updated concept plan just to adhere to Bonnie's memo. All those things to be delivered in sort of a semi-complete package prior to, hopefully a few days before, that we understand the meeting, and then that would be next week's agenda. And then probably I think it's going to take a few weeks for us to really put together thoughtful design standards, and that will, I think we're planning on presenting that on the 24th, if that's an acceptable meeting time.
Town board members, we're skipping St. Patty's Day. That's a Thursday. And we're hoping to recircle the wagons on the 24th. So you can let me know tomorrow if there are any difficulties for that. But You know, this town board has been amazing in giving up their time week after week, and amongst all the other site visits and things we're doing. So I want the residents of Tuxedo to understand how hard we're all working to try to get this done. And thank you for that.
You've been amazing. It's amazing what you guys do.
So there's no further comments. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Is that okay with my board members? Okay, motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, you're outvoted now anyway. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure I'll be talking to many of you tomorrow. So
Good night.
see you again soon. Thank you. And thank you
Good
to
night.
all our residents and interested parties for coming out. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Ken? Oh,
Yes, I can hear you, Maria.
oh, I'm sorry about the meeting on Wednesday. I had to present at another meeting and for some
It's not
reason
a
I didn't
problem.
make it into my schedule. So
Yeah,
just,
you and I
you know,
could pick that up. No problem at all.
yeah. Okay, sorry.
Okay. No
Right.
worries. Thank you. I
Bye.
appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.